If there is one thing that I respect about indie developers more than anything, it is no matter how old their games are, they go back and bring new additions and improvements to them. And one developer that is known for this, probably more than others, is Nicholas Dark God Castellini, with his roguelike game Tales of Maj'Iyal, otherwise known as Tome. Despite being 6 years old, Dark God has just released a new expansion for the game called Forbidden Cults, and I have been fortunate enough to be given the opportunity to cover it. Forbidden Cults is the latest expansion to the roguelike game Tales of Maj'Iyal. I will refer to it as Tome from here on in, which originally released in 2012 and later was accepted onto Steam and GOG.com. It is developed and published by Netcore Games and released May 16, 2018. Forbidden Cults brings the horror influence of H.P. Lovecraft to Tome, adding in a whole array of new content including new races, classes, monsters, locations, artifacts, lore, and of course, tentacles. Lots and lots of horrifying tentacles. Well, it wouldn't be very Lovecraftian without them now, would it? The new content to the game is excellent, but you do need to play through big patches of the old content to get to the new. Forbidden Cults puts you in the shoes of an adventurer who has delved into the studies of that which is considered forbidden, turning them into an insane and horrifyingly mutated Lovecraftian-style creature. The sanctuary of your kind is under threat. A giant maggot is making its way towards the town. If it isn't stopped, it will devour everything that stands in its path, that being the sanctuary and everyone in it, and you are the only one that can stop it. Will you risk your life and enter the portal and attack the worm from inside its own body, or will you leave the sanctuary to be devoured by the worm and begin your journey on the surface? The choice is yours. Forbidden Cults isn't quite as plot intensive as some other expansions that Netcore have released for Tome, but it does add in lots of new lore that centres around the Lovecraftian horrors of the world, which are always an interesting read. The expansion still centres around saving the world, like a normal playthrough of the game, but as a mutated abomination, your reasons for wanting to do so are not for the good of the people and races, but something more sinister. There's an interesting twist on what is otherwise a typical fantasy world of orcs, goblins, elves, necromancers, vampires, and so on and so forth. It brings a darker side to the game that was definitely missing, and it brings a sense of freshness to the game whether you are a fan of Lovecraftian inspired design or not. Forbidden Cults adds 2 new races to the game along with new classes to choose from. The new races are the Drem, a subrace of corrupted dwarves, and the Krog, powerful ogres that have the ability to dual-wield one-handed weapons with no difficulty. Both races do need to be unlocked by playing the game, performing specific actions or completing certain tasks just like any other locked content in Tome. The new classes are the Writhing One and the Cultist of Entropy. The Writhing One is available to play as soon as you have the expansion installed, while the Cultist of Entropy must be unlocked just like the new races. The Writhing One is a being that has allowed corrupting forces to gradually transform them into a horrific being. Already you have a tentacle for an arm, along with abilities to shed your skin for defensive purposes and melt your face for offensive purposes. The Cultist of Entropy, on the other hand, uses its insanity and control of entropic forces to change the laws of physics, allowing it to turn healing spells into attacks and call upon forces of the void to help defeat its enemies. Having the new races and classes just adds a whole array of new gameplay experiences to the already staggering amount that Tome has to offer. Each new race and class added are a whole new gameplay experience as a change up how the game is played due to their different stat builds and skills. So no matter if this is your first time playing the game or if it is the 100th, it offers up a new experience that is completely different and refreshing. How these new characters work is a bit different to that of others in the Tome universe. Their skills and abilities rely on their insanity, and the more insane they are, the more powerful their skills and attacks become, and the stronger skills they can use. The Writhing One, that being the class that I've played as so far, must attack using his tentacle in order to gain insanity. So his tentacle arm must always be free because it can't gain insanity otherwise, meaning it won't be able to use its skills, which is what gives it its powers. It's an interesting mechanic that changes up the gameplay from that of the others, as it results in you not being able to use a shield or two-handed weapon like other classes can. This means that you need to change up your tactics to adjust to this mechanic, giving it a complete different playstyle to other classes. Then there are the rather creative skills for the Writhing One, which centre around the mutation and transformation of your physical being. You can shed your skin, creating a shield that absorbs a certain amount of damage, or as your shed skin skill set grows, you can explode massive blisters that grow on your body, causing toxic liquid to flow on the floor, affecting enemies standing in it. Some skills allow you to consume and digest your enemies when weakened, or even devouring them entirely to heal yourself. Then other skills allow you to shoot out tentacles in all directions, or up through the ground in a specific area, damaging anything in its range. And then there is even a skill that allows you to summon a permanent horror companion made entirely out of worms, whom you can level up and equip how you please. The developer has been really creative when it comes to designing the new skills for the Wraithing one. Dark God has really used physical design of the character class to his advantage when making the skills for it, and they all suit the class and work very well. The only problem I have with the skill set of the Wraithing one is that it feels a bit overpowered. Not at first, but definitely as you level up and new skills become available to you. This is due to its area of effect skills, the ability to summon 2 different kinds of temporary allies, along with having a permanently summoned ally. And the character themselves aren't exactly physically weak either. For players like myself who are not exceptionally good at the game, there are still moments that is a challenge, but when compared to other classes in the game, they are a lot easier and feel more powerful. For veterans of Tome, they would likely be a bit of a breeze to play as, but despite being slightly overpowered, they are a fun class to play, and definitely unique for those who, like me, love anything that is Lovecraftian, are sure to enjoy. Aside from that, the gameplay remains pretty much the same. You explore the world, completing tasks, finding artifacts, discovering the massive amounts of lore the world has to offer, and so much more. Not to mention that the game can be played as you want to. If you don't want permadeath, you don't have to play with permadeath turned on, and there are difficulty levels that allow anyone of any experience level to choose and play. It is still great old-fashioned Tome action. Along with the new character races and classes, there is a range of new locations to explore and discover throughout the world of Tome 2. The first is the previously mentioned giant maggot, where you need to teleport inside it to kill it. Once inside, you need to make your way to its brain and destroy it while fighting off the creature's body defenses. The brain itself is a bit difficult to defeat for such an early game boss, as it can attack and damage you before even coming into view. But with the help of a few skills, you can make your way to it with relative ease and kill it, as long as you take your time and plan out your attack. It is a cool moment and really good way to start off showing what the expansion has to offer, but from the perspective of new locations, they do disappear for quite a bit of time after that, as you'll be exploring the usual areas that you always do in Tome before more places from the expansion open up to you. So there are some big gaps between discovering the new content and having to roll through the old. But when you do come across the new stuff, it is amazing. An example of this was in the Daikara Mountains. As I progressed deeper, there were giant tentacles starting to appear, which can be touched. Most of the time the tentacles would just awaken and attack you, but the very first one I touched engulfed me, and I had to explore the inside of it for a way out while fending off waves of enemies that it sent to kill me. It was so unexpected and a really memorable moment. I just wish that moments like that were a bit more frequent as opposed to being so spaced out like they are. I'm no veteran of Tome, but even I have seen, especially the early stages of the game, more times than I can count, and having to do so again while eagerly waiting for new places to crop up is a bit frustrating. But despite that being the case, when you do find them, they are quite magical. Forbidden Cult is an expansion that is a double-edged sword. What it offers is an amazing amount of content for a very fair asking price. New locations, new races, new classes, lots of new lore, and much more. And it is content that really adds to the game, bringing a darker side that was previously missing in the Tome universe. The problem is the new character class of the Wraithing one is a bit overpowered to a degree, and the expansion is a bit of a tease in the sense that it gives you a taste of the new stuff while making you play through the old for considerable time before seeing more of what is new. I certainly enjoyed my time with the new content, but as an expansion that you really need to enjoy and appreciate Tome in its entirety to truly have fun with what Forbidden Cults brings, as opposed to hoping you are only going to get what is new. And with that, I give Forbidden Cults a 7 out of 10. If you were ever thinking about getting started with Tome, now is certainly a great time to begin doing so. And for those who love the game but are wanting something new, then there is no better time to make a return.